Okay, I think we're live. Let's get to doing some testing. Put a couple locomotives around. Okay. So tonight, I think we're going to work on testing my FP45s from Athearn. I've had these for a while now, and got plenty of hours on them. I've just been doing some pull testing and some break-in. They've been sitting for a period of time, so I am going to start running them through some turnouts and seeing how they fare. So, just got them here, so I will pull them up. As predicted. Alright, let's see what we got going on. So something in my turnout there. It doesn't seem to be wanting to move all the way. Okay. Interesting. Oh, I wonder if I broke my turnout. I think I broke my turnout. That's not good. Well, let's try running it backwards. Interesting. I am just not a fan of these Soundtracks units. They're just so jerky. Yeah, their pickups are terrible too. Interesting. Yeah, there it goes again. Yeah, these number 4 Kato turnouts are tough on engines. They really, I don't know, they're just not as electrically stable as the number 6s. But yeah, it just seems like it's failing as it crosses over onto the Frog. Let's try its brother engine here as well. And that's how we almost made it through. Pull that one off for the moment. Oops. That one seems to be doing a little better. Still got some jerkiness. Yeah, it's right there. Interesting. I might have a broken turnout, though. That could be part of it. Let me grab my Atlas and see how it's going to do. Haven't actually done any testing with my Atlas yet, but boy, it's been a good, reliable engine so far. Let's see. 3055. And let's go ahead and get it moving. See how it fares going through the number 4s. So far, so good. This is a lock sound unit. Much prefer those decoders over the Soundtrax units. And perfectly consistent that way. Guessing this is going to derail because there's no spring pressure on that turnout. I have to rip up that piece of track and fix that, I think. Oh, yeah, perfectly went through it backwards. All right, let's carefully flip you around here. Let's try you backwards. Maintaining good function control, that's good. Yep, perfect. Try going forward. Well, that doesn't spell very good news for the Soundtrax units. If a little 4-axle Atlas can get through there no problem, that's not necessarily a good thing. Let's try something a little older that is a little more finicky. See how it functions. 2804. Had this unit for a long time. This is an older Atlas that doesn't have near the pickup quality that the new ones do. Although it is DCC. Yep, and right there I lose it just a little bit, but it catches itself. These old Atlas 4-axle units, they'll suss out bad track work in a real quick hurry. They just have terrible pickups. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Made it right through there. Let's try 6623 with just a little bit more speed to it. See if that helps. Nope. Got more dropouts. Even the motor control seems pretty jerky on these. I am not terribly excited with that. Getting a lot of frame wobble on this unit too. So you got some people live. If you got any questions, feel free to ask me while I'm testing. This might be a little boring to watch, but it's kind of my test procedure. Try to make sure all my units actually function. I do test everything that I do reviews on. These Atlas units are so much better than these Athearn. It's just unbelievable. Try it slow one more time here. Try picking it up a little bit. I'm going to drop out just as I get past the frog. Oh, made it that time. Good. All right, try it with a little more speed. Yeah, there was drop out. Okay, next up, let's go ahead and put some rolling stock in front of her and see how she goes through. Anybody is unaware, these 60-foot box cars from Microtrains are a godsend. They are like the perfect buffer cars. That's frustrating. Not coupling to the unit. So these Athearn, there we go. Now we're coupled. Athearn couplers to Microtrains, not usually that difficult, but these seem to be struggling. All right, let's see how she pushes through the turnout. These couplers are relatively close to the frame, so there could be issues. Oh, not bad. Oh, there was a cutout right there. They're actually moving pretty good, too. Boy, both of these units have really choppy motors. I don't know if anybody's watching that has soundtracks. I think these are Economy 2 decoders. I cannot get these things to run smoothly. I don't know if anybody has any ideas for me. There's something to do with you have to unlock them, and I believe I did that. I've got my speed matching working properly, so my CV2, 6, and 5 are actually adjusting the speed steps now. But I don't know if I need to adjust my back EMF. They're just poor running engines. All right, these generally don't get pushed through turnouts very well, so I'll be interested to see if these work decently. Do I couple right up? I do. My older Microtrains couplers hooked right up to the Athearn couplers, so that's interesting. All right, let's see how we push through the turnout. These are truck-mounted couplers, so they like to derail when pushed through things. And there I cut out at the frog again. It's the second time in a row with decent speed going through that's happened. Try it one more time with a little more speed behind it. Well, that's not very good. All right, we'll switch over to the brother engine, see how it works. Oop, that was my fault. This is a frame-mounted coupler. So far, so good. And that unit made it through no problem, so that's good. How do we pull through a number 4? That's pretty good. Okay. Let's speed it up a bit. Went through with speed well, that's good. All right, let's swap over to truck-mounted couplers. This unit couples a lot easier than its brother unit. A little rough going through there. Let's pick up the pace a little bit. That was good. That was good. Okay, well, I am not at all impressed with those Athearn units. Let's grab the Atlas unit and see how it fares. Pushing and pulling some rolling stock here. There. Let's go ahead and start with the body mounted couplers. Get her connected there. Swap over. All right, I know the pickups are really good on this, so we're just going to creep through here and see if it'll stay connected. These new GP40s are just absolutely excellent. I am so impressed with these so far. Really good. Let's pick up the pace a little bit. Oops. As I say that, the thing cuts out a little bit. Good in reverse. Let's go ahead and speed up some. These lock sounds have really good momentum settings out of the box that work with the prime movers. I really like it. Not the best for testing, but for normal use, they work really good. Some speed. All right, body mounted, or excuse me, truck mounted couplers are working excellent. Let's go ahead and get the frame mounted ones. I don't expect there to be an issue with these micro trains. These new 60-foot box cars are excellent, so this should just run right through here, no problem. Got any questions, feel free to ask. Happy to answer anything you guys got. Go nice and slow to start with. perfect. Sure, I'm maintaining good. Still got good function control going through the switch. That's good. Means you get a good DCC connection. All right, let's try this with a little bit of speed to see how she goes. That was good. Perfect. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I need to fix my crossover. That's not working when I flip the switch. I have to tear that out and fix it this weekend. That's fun. Let's see. Let's do a coupler test here. See how we connect to things. Should be able to creep right up on this and connect. Does not play well with Athearn connectors as expected. Let's try some old micro. That connected no problem. That's good. As expected. Yep. Let's try some newer micro trains. Truck mounted. Although I have not been a fan of Accumate for rolling stock, I'll be honest, I actually, coupled right up. I do really like them on these little switcher units because they do tend to couple to other engines pretty well. There was a slight dropout right there, right on top of the frog. Let's see how it connects to other Accumates. This should just flawlessly connect. Nope. We need a little more speed from the looks of it. Although these are some old Accumates, they could be a little bit dirty. Yep. Does not like connecting to rolling stock Accumates. Let's see. How about newer body-mounted micro trains? These can be difficult. If your coupler isn't perfectly centered on these, they are a bugger to connect to sometimes. Yep. Probably would work with more cars attached to it. Seems like there's not quite enough weight for that to overcome. Yeah, there's a little more weight behind that car. have not tried the true scale couplers. I've seen them. I would be interested, other than it would require, most of my fleet of rolling stock is basically all microtrains at this point. I do have some onesie twosies that I also just keep around for testing that are other couplers. They're interesting, but they're also really expensive. So that would be the biggest thing, is that would be a lot of couplers to change over. Also, finally, Scaletrain seems to be swapping over to a microtrain style coupler. So that'll probably be what I'm sticking with for the foreseeable future. You know what though? Speaking of that, as long as I've got my rolling stock out here, as far as I know, they'll work with standard microtrains. What I don't know is if they work with other couplers very well. Usually microtrains are pretty forgiving with everything else, short of, say, a Kato coupler, but I'm unsure. Okay. To the best of my knowledge, Katy couplers are basically just an HO scale thing. These are essentially similar to that in N scale. All right. Locked up nice and easy to do that. Let's try some modern. Looks like no problem. Microtrains to microtrains. That's good. Let's see. Let's try some Athearn couplers here. Yeah, it definitely doesn't like the Athearn coupler. Even when you hit it pretty good, it doesn't want to couple. So that's usually par for the course. Let's go ahead and try and accumate with it. Okay. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about these new Scaletrains SD40-2s. I'm not as impressed as I hoped I would be. That did not couple. It will couple with some weight behind it, though. So in a train configuration switching, that would probably work no problem. Let's try a real old, worn-out microtrain, see how that fares. Richard, you're just getting into N scale? You getting anything particular? Ooh, Ooh, doesn't like the old one. Yeah. Oh, I think it just is not. Let's try this one more time. Hit it with a little more speed, maybe. Yeah, there we go. Just needs a little more momentum. I have a tunnel motor on the way. I was slightly unimpressed with this one. So I believe this is the second run, if I was correct. It definitely has some track work issue. So I did some hunting and I found a what I believe to be the first iteration Union Pacific. So I should have a first release and a second release to compare to one another. I'm not terribly impressed with the slow speed control on these, to be 100% honest with you. It works okay as is, and this is a sound unit. I actually picked this up because I am local to like Great Falls, Montana, and Milwaukee Road is was kind of part of our area's tradition. But anyway, I specifically picked it up to run in permanent consist with this GP40, and out of the box, this thing has 100 times better slow speed control than this does. I ended up looking online a bunch to see if I could find some CVs that I could change on this, and apparently there's a couple of back EMF issues that they've had, and it was so jerky out of the box, I was ready to send it back. I thought it had a bad motor. It's not bad now, but it's not great either, so I don't know. It does work pretty well in consist with that GP40. They speed match really well to one another. It's one thing when you're ESU to ESU, usually you can get things pretty well speed matched with one another. Volume's been really good on it, though. I'm liking the speakers they're putting in the modern Scaletrains stuff, though. I've really been enjoying. You can really make them loud. I wish some of these GP40s you could get louder. But yeah, this is going to kind of be a permanent switcher setup on my layout. I was pretty excited to get them here, but I've just been less than impressed with that that SD40. I'm unsure, out of curiosity, since we're talking pulling power, let me just hook up to this. Yeah, I'm stalled out. It's actually got really poor pulling power, to be honest with you. I am stalling out on this train that I've been using for testing. And for comparison, we'll pull him off the track momentarily. And we'll just hook up this little light GP40, which people complain about these having low pulling power. They're super light. These are only 75 to 80 grams. And I bet you it will just pull this train no problem. Yep. So that's not real good. If that little engine can outpull that, that's that's a problem. Can't say that it's doing it easily, but it is pulling it. But the reason why I have this train out is I was trying to put together something that would create some drag. I picked up, I've had these for a while. I've had this for probably a year longer than I've had those, and This was one of the first sound units that I ever picked up. It's got the economy, I believe the economy decoder in it. I have been completely unable to actually get anything to write to this decoder. I have tried JMRI, all kinds of stuff. I cannot adjust anything in this regardless of what I do. I have searched and searched and searched to figure out how to get it to function, but all I can do is just run it normally. So when I picked up these, I kind of ran into the same issue. It turns out they're CV locked from the factory. Once I got that figured out, I was using them to pull the occasional grain load or what have you, but they were usually pulling my my Great Northern passenger train. I put these behind some actual load the other day, and I cannot believe how weak these engines are. They weigh over double what that little Atlas right here does, and this can almost outpull these. The gear train in these is just subpar, absolutely subpar. Really, the GP30s. So, in consist to those GP30s, not outpull a GP40-2, Sean T, or is it just singular? Because if running in consist, they don't outpull. And that being said, like my old GP39-M or whatever they are, GP30 for lack of a better word, that's an old Atlas. It'll easily pull that train at speed, no problem, which sucks. Not to mention, I was curious. I grabbed one of my Kato SD70 Max. I can hook up to that train with it. Again, 115 or so grams versus the 150 of these units. And it can easily pull the train without stalling too hard or slowing down in the corners. I'm just unimpressed with the drivetrain in those Athearn units. I figured for as heavy as they'd be just absolute pulling machines, but I was wrong. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the nicer the scale details get, the more finicky the unit, and yeah, your speaker's going to take out some of the weight, but well, out of curiosity, let's just see. I got it right here. Let's just find out. This unit is 81 grams. So versus this, which was 77 grams. So this is slightly heavier, although 6-axle. And a Kato is 97 to 100 grams. Let's just see. I'm going to trigger my short protection doing this. Let's see, 6792. Running in reverse. Must be a dead spot in the track right there, or with the unit. Yeah, it stalls out too, so I don't know. Maybe it's just something to do with the 6-axle. Less, you get that into a turn, I bet you it'll stall right out. Maybe it's just a tractive effort thing, just not enough wheel pressure to actually make it work. I don't know. The Kato SD40-2s actually, when I was actually back doing weight testing versus pulling power, I don't know if it's actually something to do with the wheelbase as well, because a lot of it, not only is it the straight line, but it's in the curve. They struggled even, weight to weight versus some other units. For example, the Broadway Limited SD70s, they're basically the same weight as a Kato SD40-2, right about the 100-gram range. And on average, up a grade, they would pull one extra grain car when I was doing that. So it might have something to do with the wheelbase difference as well, and how that interacts with your curves. So that might be something, part of it. It might also be something to do with back EMF. I did a bunch of testing on that too, and if anybody goes back and looks at any of my old videos pertaining to it, I converted all of my Kato units, or any of my DCC units that didn't have ESU or Broadway's Paragon decoders in them, to TCS decoders. I did a bunch of testing in exactly the same units between NCE, Digitrax, and TCS, and NCE just did not fare well. I don't even think it has back EMF, but I never could get Digitrax back EMF to function as well as just out of the box TCS. So it's one of those things, you spend a little bit more for TCS decoders, but they certainly outperform the Digitrax in my opinion. The other thing about it is when you get a bunch of locomotives, when I was running primarily DCC, Digitrax, and NCE stuff, I could move that decoder from engine to engine, and I would have to do different speed matching values for all my CVs to make those engines work together. When I converted everything to TCS, as long as it was a Kato, and I put a drop in, and I should say like the F7s is a different ordeal, but SD40s, SD70s, the Aces, the Gevos, I could just drop a TCS decoder in it, put my stock value of 3 in for CV2, 40 in for CV6, and 80 for CV5, and they were all perfectly speed matched at operating speeds. So that was a big plus for me. Yeah, Gavin, I would agree. There's a huge difference. Not to mention, if you want bright lights, TCS decoders just output some serious bright light. Interesting. I didn't see that. I'm going to have to go check out his video. I'm interested if he actually... I don't really have a way to measure like different pulling power short of I was just using a standardized car measurement. I have, I think, 12 of the Scaletrains BNSF covered hoppers, and that's what I used. They're relatively heavy, and they all had steel wheels, so it was a nice, easy way to keep it all consistent. But yeah, 100% TCS was at least one more car over Digitrax, and sometimes two over NCE. Not to mention the lurching up the hill went away. I don't have any major grades on this layout, but my old layout I did. It was a 2.5% grade up my curve, and a curved grade at that, which makes it even more difficult. And yeah, there's a lot of lurching in NCE decoders. So, from what I understand, I actually use a separate unit. I have a lock programmer that I use with the lock programmer software to work with all my ESU units. I understand that you can connect it through JMRI and do your programming that way. You cannot use the lock programmer software, as far as I'm aware of, to do your CV controls for your TCS decoders. I haven't found the need to. I'm doing some fancier stuff with my ESU decoders when it comes to light functions. I am using the TCS command system. So lighting works a little bit different with it. Because you have the control cab as your main unit, it basically automatically controls what functions get passed on to all your units in consist. So other than having the front headlight on my road units, it doesn't much matter. It's relatively easy. It's something to do with CV61 off the top of my head to set up Rule 17 dimming. Although I am looking into doing some custom CV programming to do for my switchers, so they function a little bit more like these two. I'm working on a good way to do this on the lock programmer for my ESU stuff. The way I've got these set up, I don't know, maybe I can get them into the screen here. I don't know if my camera will actually pick it up. Yeah, I don't think it's going to quite pick it up. I have these set up currently. When set up in a consist, if I run just the normal headlight function, the lead engine on either one will light up. If I press function 4, which puts these in switcher mode, both headlights will illuminate all the time, and then the lead engine will brighten. If I leave them in switcher mode and take them out of consist with one another and press the 4 function, or the 3 function, excuse me, the coupler slack, it will change the light output on the engine you still have selected so that both headlights stay illuminated like a switcher would, and the forward direction will brighten Rule 17. However, if I turn off the headlight at that point with both function 4 and function 3 still activated, both headlight and taillight stay dim illuminated to match some of the guys I've been watching in my local area. But I don't know if I'm going to quite get that functionality out of a TCS decoder. I might have to do some messing around to see if I can get it to happen. There's just so much more you can do with these ESU controllers. Yeah, GMRI is difficult for me. I know just enough about programming and stuff that it's frustrating that it's not more user friendly. I really appreciate what they're putting out there, a free product that's relatively usable in a lot of different applications and very powerful. I just would love to see something more like an interface where you see an engine pop up and it walks you through. Do you want your headlight to dim on stop? Yes or no? And then you just kind of go through a series of questions and then it programs it for you. But I might be wanting a little bit too much. Yeah, I did the patchwork myself. Atlases are a lot easier than other units if you've never done it before. A little bit of microsol and microset, and you can scrape off a one of their factory decals way easier than any other brand. So when I'm looking at patching units, they're definitely the ones I look to first. Let's see. Just curious if this will pull that. After I said it would, I probably should make sure it would. Let's see, I'm 97.48. And now I'm in the feedback loop. There we go. Oop. Oops. As I short out my unit, that's what I need to do. Yeah, that's no problem. Kato does it. Easy squeezy. I don't know, has anybody... I kind of left the scene just as the Fox Valley model stuff was being kind of sort of announced through Scaletrains. They had picked it up. They were one of the other companies that built SD70 Aces, which are my jam. And I've been wanting one of the old Montana Rail Link ones for a while. Kato finally re-released them, so I got those. As a matter of fact, I'm waiting on some lock sound or some... Yeah, what are they? The 57-541, the Kato lock sound board, so I can put sound in those. I'm excited to get that project done. Montana Rail Link's one of my favorites, so I'm looking forward to that. But I think Scaletrains was going to start releasing some Fox Valley model stuff, and I have seen nothing about it. And I was curious if that was going to happen anytime soon, but... What's going on, Mike? Good to see you. Yeah, the Kato frames... I like to see how good and reliable they are. They have their problems too. I run into some problems with my Kato stuff relatively regularly. Not as bad as some of the Bachmann stuff. I am going to probably piss some people off when I talk about the Bachmann Charger, but I have not had good luck with that unit. But the one thing about Kato that I struggle with is I appreciate the pulling power, the nice quiet motors, the ease of putting a decoder in. The SD70s are easy to put sound in, but like the ES44s are a real bugger. So having a little easier capability to put sound in would be nice. But the other thing I run into is whatever they're using for their copper pickups, the point where the wheel stud makes contact with that copper for your connection, they're probably the worst units for getting the black gunk that you get on your rails in there as well. And they have the shortest time frame of needing to be cleaned when it comes to that, and it's kind of frustrating to me. But Oh, they lost part of the tooling, huh? Well, that sucks. I would have been really interested in those because I'm sure they would have came with sound, and that would have been nice. I not that I don't like the Broadway ones. I would be interested in the future in getting stealth ones if they came out with just the regular Montana rail links. Like I had mentioned before, they don't have the pulling power that the Katos do, and I don't mind the Paragon 4 the engine sounds. They actually are pretty decent, but I'm not a fan of their horns anymore compared to the more modern stuff. Our sound stuff has just come a long way in the past 5 years. The modern sound files you get and the speakers you're getting in these more modern models are just really putting out quality sound. So I am curious because I have had my eye on the Broadway. I had issues with their original SD40-2s, mainly because I think of my ESU command station that was burning them up and the body wobble. But their stealth units, I understand some of the people getting the more recent ones aren't having issues with the body wobble. So if you could put an ESU sound system in it, that might be neat. Problem is the price point they'd be coming in at, they'd just be drastically too expensive. Well, that'd be cool if they made it. I'd be excited about that. Yeah. So Mike, I may have got a lemon charger. It I have had a bunch of drive issues with it. One of them was my mistake. I screwed up a little bit, but I definitely had some problems with it. But my main problem goes back to the way they do their pickup design. What was it? Yeah, I think it was a GP40. I ended up getting one of their, come in the pre-starter kit sound GP40s, the BNSF one that had kind of the funny orange to it. And it was a pretty reliable unit, other than the pickups would get dirty so fast. And that's what I was running into with that charger. Because the interface with the inside flange of the wheel, and they have metal gears, so you do kind of have to keep them oiled a little bit to keep the noise down. That oil eventually works its way down the axle, gets to the flange, and then it starts to get into your pickup. And once that happens, you just lose really good DCC control, and you start having dropouts. Now that TCS decoder, it works wonders. I think it kind of brings that thing up in quality level, but it can only do so much before the physical commands aren't getting to it anymore. So I don't know. I have possibly some plans if I can swing it. Atlas just dropped several, passenger style units, and Kato just dropped their direct competition to it. So I might pick those up and just kind of do a head to see how that works out. Well, I've got several of the aces. I can grab one quickly. Stream quality is not video upload quality for sure. I don't know if I can get that to focus or not. I mean, there is some thickness to the window glazing. I would agree. It's almost not noticeable trackside. for the price they are charging for these units, I wish they did a little more added detail, like hand grabs and whatnot on the, the hood, I guess you want to call it. These are all molded in, but for the time they were actually pretty decent. They've gone up in price substantially. They were 200, sometimes down to 280 when I got these Paragon 4s, and my Paragon 3s were much more affordable. Now they're just coming up in price where they're similar to buying a Scaletrains engine, so I don't know how you can justify that price. Well, as you say, nitpicking, but the problem that I run into is the prices increase so substantially. If you're at the $200 price point, that's a whole different deal than the $250 to $260 price point, because at that point you are directly competing with like the SD40-2s from Scaletrains, all of their Gevos, and it's not even close when you get to that. I mean, the drive system on the Gevos from Scaletrains is bar none probably the strongest pulling engine in modern sound locomotives that you're going to find. So that's pretty hard to compete against. Not to mention they're gorgeous. I see that Atlas is putting tsunami decoders. That sucks. I am really not a fan of tsunami decoders. Matter of fact, that TCS decoder I was talking about in the Bachmann, that's another one of my gripes, because tsunamis like to do the same thing. They default to being on. So if you don't go in and swap some function stuff around, when you turn everything else on, they want to be off, and vice versa. Also, that TCS system with the Bachmann, if you do have any cutouts or what have you, it just always defaults to on regardless of what your function is. So you're constantly having to re-silence it if for some reason it hiccups a little bit. Yeah, the BLI ES44s are, I'll state it this way. The Paragon 3s are exactly where they should be. They redid the mechanism because they were having issues with pickups. The Paragon 3 ES44s were such a pain in the butt, to be honest with you, because some of them were really good. Matter of fact, I still have one now that is super reliable, but the other two that I had my hands on would hiccup if they looked at the wrong track. So when they redid the mechanism, they got jacked up. I still have the Fantasy Great Northern one. I need to get it repaired. I had one of my ditch lights fall off, but it sits way too high. The front pilot looks absolutely ridiculous. That's something that I don't put up with any manufacturer anymore. We've got that figured out. These units are the same way. You can see I call it the monster truck effect. I don't think that should be the way it is anymore. Yeah, I agree. What I can't tell, though, is so the ES44 got a redesign, and you can tell because they did get taller. What I don't know is if the AC6000s did. So, hot tip, those AC6000s, the Paragon 3s were really reliable. I understand these Paragon 4 ones are drastically more reliable, but they look like the same thing may have happened. I still have my BNSF AC6000, the fantasy unit that I run in consist with two of my aces as kind of my coal pulling train, and it's a pulling machine. That is an awesome engine, and if they didn't screw up the truck height on those, I bet you they work really good. So the Conductor Club's cool. I actually used to hit up the BLI like the resale store where they do their repaired engines. Several of mine I got off of that. Problem was is you generally had to send the unit back a couple times because they sent it in for problems and they would fix one problem and not the rest. But I don't know. It was just one of those things you bought from it knowing that it wasn't going to be perfect out of the box, but you're getting it for a big discount, so I was okay doing that. Yeah, the Intermountains, they look terrible. I still remember that tunnel motor one that I got because that was basically the only way you could get a tunnel motor. I got rid of it because the drivetrain was so loud on it, but um, even the recent release ones look that way. It's ridiculous. For the price they're asking for those units, they should be at least Kato quality in scale. And yeah, they're doing some separate hand grabs and whatnot, but the monster truck effect just makes it look so much like a toy. Why pay the extra money for it? Well, if you can find an older AC6000, like I said, the Paragon 3s were actually pretty darn reliable. I had 3 of them at one time, and all of them worked really good. I just only have my BNSF one left. Um, there's lots of the CSX units I see used out there. It's possible. The one thing is, if you could get a running video from the guy you picked it up just to see how it would work, it is pretty apparent pretty fast with those older BLI units. You can put them basically on any loop of Kato track, and if they can make a full loop, you're probably pretty good to buy it. If it won't, it hiccups, you know it's one of the units that had issues. I have also heard of people pulling the body on those, putting their own decoder in if that's what you wanted to do. If you got it cheap enough to do that, it would be kind of neat. And they just ran physical wires down to the wheel pickups instead of doing the rub connection. And I know of one guy who did that, and he said he had really good luck. He said he also really liked the ESU sound files that he found for an AC6000, way better than the Broadway ones. But I don't really know that I have much of a problem with the Broadway sound, but Pug, how much was the conductors club for Broadway? Do you remember? I assume it's some sort of I don't know. You buy your way into the club, and then you have access to these things before everyone else. Is that how they're doing it, or what's that? 30. I mean, that's not a bad deal. If Are they releasing some of their the repair store stuff ahead of time to that? Is that kind of, it seems like trains.com does the same thing. You get on their conductors club and they pre-release units to members who can purchase them before they put them on the website. I assume that's kind of what they're doing. Oh, extra warranty's worth it for sure. Yeah, I won't lie. I'm glad I got the extra warranty. I uh, I got some stuff to say about Scaletrains here in a little bit when I get some engines back, but um, every unit that I picked up in the year 23 has been back to Scaletrains for repair. I had motor issues on every single one of them, so I'm curious how my new SD40s are going to fare when it comes to that. I do run my engines a wee bit harder than other people do, so we shall see. But yeah, I am not real excited with Scaletrains' warranty. The other thing I didn't know, and I should have looked into this, for anyone who doesn't know, I pick up my models from various different suppliers so I can get different lots. Um, you need to register your model to get the 2-year warranty from Scaletrains. If you buy it from their website, you're just automatically given that warranty. So I don't know if any of you have ever run into that, but I was unaware that was a thing. I agree. If BLI's diesels were the same quality as their steam stuff, that would be a game changer. I am a huge fan of their heavy Mikados. I love those engines. They are just awesome. Helps if I get my engine railed properly before I send it off. I had problems with my charger. I'm unsure of. I think I probably ended up getting a lemon, but I had so many issues keeping the thing running because I was getting lubrication coming from my gears on the trucks into the pickups. That I was constantly in there cleaning them, and if anybody's ever used it, all my other models I use ATF on my gears. Tends to work quite a bit better, for me anyway. Definitely not a thing to use on your Bachmann. But yeah, the pickup design, in my opinion, is just subpar. I kept getting oil in my pickups, so I was constantly cleaning them. And one time going back together, I got it just a little bit off and ended up getting my front gear. It locked up just a little bit. It had just a slight hiccup that ended up breaking the motor to flywheel connection. And the motor has been out of balance ever since. But I don't know. I was so frustrated with the oil getting on the pickups. The only thing that made it usable, in my opinion, was the really good TCS decoder. Yeah, I agree. The Mikados are awesome. My Pacific is a workhorse. I just really like the Mikado just has a more classic look to me. I don't know. I just really like it. But yes, I agree. They both run fantastic. Uh, yeah, Pug. I will be honest. I am super excited with Atlas lately because they've just been shotgunning models out. I just see they did another big drop of some switcher units and some passenger ones. I forget what they are. Kind of the new style passenger engines. The problem with the Atlas stuff is you need to be looking for new stuff because their old stuff had a lot of problems. Is there something in particular from Atlas you were looking at picking up or were trying to find? Yeah, the older run stuff popping up on eBay is kind of a problem, especially if you don't know what you're looking for. Pug, I honestly, the DCC sound stuff that has the Tsunami decoders, I have zero experience with. I haven't gotten any of it yet. But so I have 3 new GP40s that do not have the ditch lights, and they have been working excellent. I mean, they're just great units. I got a, what is it, the SD9, the Montana Rail Link. It is a 6-axle unit, and that 6-axle unit is hyper reliable. I don't know if it's just more wheels on the ground or what, but it really does work good. So that's a thing for sure. I did get the U23B. Maybe you saw some of my shorts. It works pretty good, but it's not as electrically reliable as I want. I've been trying to get the wheels worn a little bit to see if that helps. Yeah, the MP15 is cool. So I'm curious what design it's going to use. If it's going to go for what I think Atlas calls the classic design. So like that U23B and that MP, or the SD9 that I have, they're not split frame like the older Atlases and this GP40. The whole bottom is a solid cast piece, and then the motor mount is another cast piece that bolts down from the top, and then you have wires running to your trucks. So there's area for sound. I assume that MP15 is going to be built with that frame. So far, like I said, that 6-axle one has been super reliable, but that U23B just doesn't quite have, I don't know if it's the wheelbase or if I just need to get the wheels broke in, but it doesn't seem to be quite as reliable. So my U23B, I ran into that as well. Any minor, super minor track problem, it was hung up on it. I actually really like the look of the low, being really low on the truck. So I ended up just shaving down my front pilot a little bit, and I just moved my snowplow up just a touch. Seems to be really good after that, but it definitely ran too low for sure. So I've been actually looking at those Dash 8s. I don't have a whole lot of Dash 8s on my layout, so I was curious. They're also kind of the wide body with that different truck. That's neat. Problem is, I have had difficult at best luck with the Rapido stuff. I had a few of their rolling stock. They were terribly unreliable. And then when I've looked into some of their engines, and mind you, it's mainly HO stuff, but it is either they work or they don't. It's really no in between. I don't hear any just normal reviews of them. This is the worst piece of crap I ever bought, or it was the best engine I've ever found. So I don't know. There's so many other US-based brands that are releasing really good stuff like Atlas and Scaletrains right now that I'm probably going to be getting into that stuff long before I ever touch any of the Rapido stuff. But I do like the look of those Dash 8s. what I see, I'm kind of looking at the pre-orders on Train World right now while I'm doing this. SD35s. Looks like they're going to do the low nose Montana Rail Link 701. That is cool. I might have to get my hands on one of those with sound. So I wonder if they'll come with Tsunami or if they'll come with an ESU. But yeah, I've got the 701 with the high nose in the old Atlas frame, the like Gen 2 DCC ready, and yeah, to have the low nose version of that they used for quite a while. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing that engine as a kid, so that one would be really cool to get my hands on. The GP60, the BNSF that they got coming out, that looks pretty sweet. I want one of those, something terrible. I can't remember what they were. I might have to go. I will have to look up the cars that I got and ended up selling almost immediately. They were supposed to be something special, and it is just off the top of my head. I can't remember what they were. I want to say they were like cushion cars or something like that, but I can't remember. But I tried them. They would not stay on the track to save my life. I just struggled with those. And to be honest with you, I had the same exact problem with my Intermountain covered hoppers. It was like the wheel sets were just slightly too narrow, and if you went around any of my Kato turns that have the super elevation, it would just like they want to derail every time. So I did not put much run time on those because they were too expensive, and I got rid of them. But yeah, that was like 2 years ago that I did those. So if these Aurora cars um, are new, I definitely didn't get those. Yeah, okay. I'm just looking back at some of my old orders. I definitely didn't get any of these Aurora boxcars. For some reason, I think thought you were talking the Rapido stuff. Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely haven't gotten any of those. Honestly, I am so stocked up on rolling stock. I probably never need to buy them again. To be honest with you, I probably need to sell off some of my older stuff and just start getting things with strictly metal wheels and that type of stuff. But that's a project too. Honestly, the only thing I have to say that when it comes to cars lately is just I have had awesome luck with the Athearn tank cars. They've just been super awesome for me. So I have a bunch of stuff that has body mount couplers. I don't necessarily feel the need to do it on most of my units. I'm not doing a bunch of backing through turnouts and that type of stuff when I'm operating on this current layout. If at some point in the future I end up getting the ability to build a larger layout that would have point to point or more of a switching compatible area, I would probably consider doing it at that point. But that being said, microtrains, wheel sets, and trucks underneath quality weighted cars generally don't have that kind of issue. Oh, I agree. Those E8s look super cool. Get them in stealth. Problem is, BLI needs to be a little more price conscious. If they did their DC stealth options a little closer to the Cato pricing so you could drop an ESU system in it, man, I think they would have something there, but they're pricing them about $40 too high, in my opinion. So that makes adding sound to them push them over what a Scaletrains unit would be. So that makes it a difficult sell. All right, everybody. Yeah, the icicle reefers are pretty cool. I got to admit, they look really nice. I've seen some of the prelim photos, and those look pretty cool. But I've been going about a half an hour longer than I probably should have been, so I will probably have to let you guys all go. But I appreciate you stopping by and asking questions. I will not be back next Tuesday. I hope to be putting out my review, and so I will see you the following Tuesday if you got any more questions. So I will talk to you guys all later.